Hi, everyone, and welcome to American Women Artists 2024 Annual Online Juried Show Awards. My name is Sandra Harris. I'm Executive Director. I'm thrilled that you could join us today. I have our President, Janet Lee, with us. Hi, Janet. And Christine Drewyer, who is our immediate past president and a master signature artist member. So for those of you that are new to AWA, we're going to tell you a little bit about the organization, and then we will dive right into the awards. And again, this will be recorded and available on YouTube after the fact if you want to watch it again or share it. So a little bit about AWA. We're a nonprofit. Our mission is dedicated to the inspiration, celebration, and encouragement of women in the visual fine arts. We began back in 1991 in the Southwest. It was a group of women artists working in the Western genre who noticed their male counterparts were getting a lot of shows, a lot of gallery time, and they decided to band together, had their first show at the Tucson Museum of Art. So we're always grateful. That was our launching pad for having an all-woman exhibition. The first president was Star York, an artist many of you know. The first juried show was in '97, and we became an official nonprofit in '98. In New Mexico. The Heritage Circle in this great photo from back then shows you some of the founders. And we always remember where we came from, and we're so happy. Of course, the group has grown to cover all of the United States, part of Canada. We have some Canadian members and all different types of artists. But those are the roots where we began.
So I'm Janet Lee, President of the Board of Directors, and I'm proud to introduce the rest of the board, where we have representatives from all across the country. Lisa Gleim is our Vice President. Miriam Esteve is our Treasurer. Barbara Mason, our Secretary. Sandra Delahanty, Jan Haynes Gilmore, PhD. May Klish, Sally Maxwell, and Angela Mia all serve on the board as well. We're also really grateful to our patrons, the individuals, families, galleries, and vendors that support this organization with their generous gifts.
The artist members, we are a tiered membership organization. We have associate members, we have associate with distinction, and we have associate with distinction, juried into at least one show, our signature members who have been juried into at least 3 shows, and the master signature members, which go through a grueling process where they are invited. Women artists and artists who identify as women who draw, paint, sculpt, they're 18 years of age and up, and we are living and working in the United States and in Canada.
So one of the things about AWA that building on that initial goal for more exposure for women, in 2017, AWA adopted an initiative called 25 and 25. And the idea was to have 25 juried all-woman shows in 25 years. And that started in 2017. We are on our 8th show this year, so we are on track. And the reason that museum shows were chosen is it's that other piece of the pie that, yes, gallery representation, individual success, but getting into the museum shows, having museum audiences really takes you to another type of level in your career, both for collectors and for exposure. And let's not forget that the majority of museums were founded on the works of men. So it's very nice to be able to tilt that balance a little bit and see those shows with all women. We're very proud of that. So this year's online show, in addition to those museum shows, we do a juried online show. So 382 artists entered, 1,039 works were entered, 160 of those works were chosen, and we'll be giving today 23 awards and over $15,000 in cash and merchandise. And we're very happy to do that for our members.
We want to give a special thanks to the sponsors for this show. David Torino, our grand prize donor at $2,000. We have an anonymous donor who is providing our second prize at $1,500. And Diana Reuter Twining, our third prize at $1,000 in memory of her mother, Nancy Brown Reuter. In addition to those sponsors, we have a number of first prize membership category sponsors at $500.
We have some named award sponsors where people donate in honor of special people in their lives or just to recognize artists. So our president, Janet, she and her husband have a family fund. So we give an AWA President's Award. Christine, who you've also met, is giving a Christine Drewyer Award of Distinction. Thank you, Christine. Angela Mia and her family, who is another master signature member and a board member, give the Kathleen J. Smith Humanity and Art Award, and you'll learn a little bit more about that. And then Catherine Leach, one of our donors, started funding last year the Power of the Feminine Award. So thank you for those. And then we have other individuals, almost all our members, that support our awards to other members, which is really lovely. So we're very grateful to everybody who donated this year to help us make these awards possible. We also have fantastic in-kind donations from vendors, and Sandy Delahante, one of our board members, is instrumental in working with the vendors and helping us get these awards so that the artists can also have merchandise to go along with their cash awards. So thank you to all of these vendors who support AWA on an ongoing basis. The jurying is a difficult process, as you can imagine, and we have different jurors for every show. So for this show, we had Hilary Cole, who is gallery director and an art consultant for LEOPOLDgallery and ARTconsulting in Kansas City. CherieDawn Haas, who's the editor for Plein Today, Realism Today, and Fine Art Today. And then Misa Jeffereis, who is the associate curator of the Contemporary Art Museum in St. Louis. And so a little about the process. The jurors review the pieces online. They don't know the artist names. So it's a, excuse me, it's a blind choosing of those pieces. They don't consult with each other in this show, and their scores are averaged. So it's a truly fair process. Okay, are we ready? First category of awards. We have 6 awards of merit. So these are chosen for any category, any medium, any subject matter. And the winners will have $100 in cash plus donated merchandise. So let's kick it off with our first award.
First award of merit, funded by Anna Kasabian in kind from Cherry Art Products, goes to Norma J. Anderson, associate member from Kentucky, for her portrait, A Legend, done in pastel, 12 by 12 inches. This portrait is done with a traditional dark background without competition from a setting, giving the subject clear importance. The limited palette draws the eye directly to the soft green eyes and their direct and focused gaze, away from us and the artist. This is a man with great experience and wisdom. The complexion captured with its visible signs of age, the wispy hair, the long beard so carefully depicted show great respect for the subject. Reflection of light from the right on the skin texture adds dimension and softly gleams in his eyes. This is a skillfully rendered portrait. Congratulations, Norma.
Next, this award of merit is funded by Arlene Mann with an in-kind gift from Ampersand Art Supply, and it goes to Trish Coonrod, associate with distinction member from New York. It's entitled Gourds and Eggs. It's an oil 18 by 28. And I've seen some of Trish's work before, and she talks about on her website that she has turned to really looking at things growing in her own garden. So it just shows that your inspiration doesn't have to be far away. It can be right outside your door. And she talks about representing whether, we've seen some great floral pieces from her. And in this case, she talks about how you can have the natural world and flora and fauna almost interplaying as though they're human. What I love about this is her color palette. So if you start with the background with this very dark blue, then the light blue in the front, it just makes the two gourds of very different colors pop. I think the other really interesting thing she's done is if you start on the left side in the green of that gourd and follow that line up to the stem and then follow the stem over to the next and then curve down that gourd, it's almost as if it's almost a dance in my eyes, that they are relating to each other rather than just sitting near each other. And then the addition of these eggs in those muted palettes, it's almost as if anywhere that you start, it will take you through this whole painting. So if you start with that large egg in the middle, your eye goes left to that curve that she's created in that gourd on the left. So wherever you're looking, whether starting back and just seeing that curve or moving into those details to really see the reality of how she can represent these gourds and these eggs, I think it's just lovely. The palette is a little bit different than you might expect with those blues and those grays, but it really makes it jump from the piece. Just beautifully done. So congratulations, Trish. I get to speak about this one too. This is funded by Heather Jackson, an in-kind donation from Frame Destination. Lauren DiBenedetto is a signature member in New Jersey. This is called Hanging Amaranthus. It's an oil 36 by 36. And if you contrast this to what we just looked at, this is tending more towards creating more of a realistic scene. So yes, you have the incredible detail of the amaranthus. If you look in the gradations of colors from the very light golden yellow down through the pink, and of course it's hanging, which I love about that plant. It looks almost like a waterfall coming down. But because Lauren has added the newspaper and the twine around it, it gives us another element to the story. So somebody has saved these or given them to someone, and then they're sitting on this lovely box. And if you look closely, she's captured the shadows of the lock. She's got the weathered wood in various stages from the lid all the way down, some holes and nicks in that wood. So is somebody leaving? Are they taking that box with them? Is that a going away? We're not quite sure. But the detail even on the newspaper, if you look closely, it's a Wall Street Journal, and she has even a cartoon part of it. So she's really given us that detail of a still life. And then the last thing I'll mention is the way she's done that background with the dark on the left and then that straight line and then the gray to the right. Again, that line takes you from the top of the painting down through that paper and divides it into another section where your eye just kind of naturally moves. I think it's just beautifully and skillfully done. And so congratulations, Lauren. I get to do one more. This one is funded by Renee Porter, Carla O'Connor, and an in-kind gift from Natural Pigments. This is from Debbie Mueller, an associate member in New Hampshire. It's called Chasing Shadows. It's an oil 48 by 36. I was fascinated to read Debbie's bio. She had a long career as a physician. She was a gynecologist, obstetrician for many years. She talks about being raised by an artist mother and a crafty dad, and she always left the fine arts up to her mom. Until 2016, she was visiting them on a rainy day in Florida. An acrylic paint set was sitting there, and all of a sudden she learned she was a painter. And at AWA, she was 56 at the time, by the way. And we love to hear those sorts of stories where people have had these whole other lives and then turn to their artistic career afterwards. So I just think that's a lovely story. What she's managed to do with this piece, I kind of see Hopper a little bit with these angular lines and the way that she's having our eye follow the roof in all of those patterns. And then the shadow is going to parallel it from each of the elements of the building. And then if you follow the dark shadow of the green in the front right and go over to the boat, then you see light coming in from the left. And that light leads you over to the pathway and down to the water. I just think that is so skillful. And then finally, I love how she's added that layer of pinkish dusk color to divide the water from the sky. And so I just think that gradation of color is gorgeous. And every time you look at it, you're kind of seeing a different shadow. So congratulations on winning, and congratulations on finding out you're an artist. Thank you.
Oh, goody. I get to talk about this one. This is an award of merit funded by Brenda Swenson in memory of Joe Miller of Cheap Joe's Art Stuff, and in kind from Savoir Faire Fabriano. This is Annie Murphy Robinson, a signature member from California, and it's called Lucid Dreaming. And notice the size, 54 by 65, is quite a large presentation. Annie has her own type of technique that I had not heard of before. She uses sandpaper as a medium, which embeds the dry materials of charcoal and occasionally pastel into heavy paper. And she says using this technique, she's able to see in the dark. I love that, seeing in the dark. And she uses a myriad of photographic references, which allow her to lighten up the dark areas and balance them out with the lighter ones. And it gives a relatively hyper-real effect here. And she wants them to have the narrative to have a somewhat melancholy presentation, which I think it really does. These are very allegorical almost in their narrative, where there's a mythological component to them. Is this Persephone? Does she know this ram? What does that ram really represent? She allows you to put your interpretation of it in there. The swirl of the gown at the bottom is almost a wave or a shell, and that pattern comes up. It's part of the nightgown. And I'm also going to add that Annie chooses everything that goes into these. She knows her subject matter, usually her daughter. This looks like her daughter. She picks the nightgowns, she poses them, she just knows them intimately, so she can feel like her story comes across realistically and believably, but also because of the darkness and that what she calls melancholy component to the narrative. Lucid dreaming. Lucid dreaming is like a meditation where you're not fully deeply in. It's almost like a wakeful dream. And so you feel like you're part of this scenario. And I can only imagine what that ram is meaning to the girl, but compositionally, the swirl of the gown brings you up to the arm and over to the horn, which brings you up and then down again into the shadow, which brings you all the way back around again. So I think probably the most unique and creative choice of that swirl of the gown is what makes that whole composition come together, and the curve echoed in the curve of the antelope or sheep, longhorn sheep. It brings you right back in. So that's a wonderful compositional component. I think she's a star. A few years back, she got my President's Award, and everything she does. I'd like to refer to the song "Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic," because she's just unbelievable with her ability to capture that realism. And I can only imagine what this piece looks like in person at that size. So probably not 100% life size, but it's going to be right up there in your face. And I would dearly love to see it in person. So congratulations, Annie. It's another really captivating and exciting piece. Well deserved. Well, I get to talk about this one too. It's another rising star in my humble opinion. This is Daniela Wernick, a Master Signature member. This is an award of merit, which is funded by Jane Coleman and Elaine Cooler and an in-kind from Legion Paper. This is a watercolor, which is a 20 by 16, and it's called Talking to a Hummingbird. Daniela's in Texas, but she was raised in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and then she moved to Australia for a period, and then now her two sons call Texas home. So her heritage has been a lovely component of her work, we found, and she has a very unique type of paper that she uses, and she's a master of pattern work, from the tiles in the background to the lace and then the shadows, which are put onto this young lady and turned beautifully. Her ability to tell a story is second to none. She's almost side-eyeing that hummingbird. If you've ever had a hummingbird do this to you, and I have, it's something akin to talking to a fairy because they're just magical. And this young lady is almost contemplating, what do I think about what you have to say to me? You know, she captures these younger women and their transition times in life, I think, and they really are analyzing and evaluating what life means to them. And I think she captures that so beautifully. She's holding what looks like a letter to me. I see a stamp, which has another component to the narrative, which makes me wonder again, you know, what is going on in this young lady's head. But her technique is masterful. She has been a very short time, truly, with the organization that has risen to the top so quickly and won so many beautiful awards. So this one is no surprise to any of us. We're very proud to see her thriving and doing so beautifully in American Women Artists. Congratulations, Daniela, another extraordinary piece, well deserved.
And I'm continually amazed that she's self-taught.
Yes.
So congratulations to all 6 of these winners for the Awards of Merit. Just a beautiful grouping of works. We're so impressed. The next section is the Outstanding Achievement Awards, and these are in specific categories: abstract, animals, figurative, landscape, cityscape, sculpture, and still life. And they bring a $250 cash award plus donated merchandise. So the first one I will talk about is the Outstanding Achievement in Abstract, and this is funded by Kirsten Cocken and an in-kind gift from Source Tech. So this goes to Kate Hooray Osmond, who's an associate member in South Carolina. It's entitled Saturday Street. It's acrylic, 36 by 36. You know, I was reading on Kate's website. This is part of a series that she calls Fruiting Bodies. I wanted to get that right again. And it's a combination of buildings and a little bit of landscapes, but it's all about what she's talking about is this not judging things as good or bad, happy or sad, that things just are. And it's just a lovely philosophy. So she's trying to take these scenes and get to the essence in an abstract manner of just presenting them without putting a lot of judgment on them as far as what's happening or what the emotion is. I find it really interesting too. She likes to get angles on pieces like this that are a little bit different, where she may be up high and looking down. Even so far, not for this one, but for others where she's looked at something from a helicopter, right? Just to kind of change the perspective on something and not make immediate judgments. So for this one, it's abstract, but we can see that it's a couple in the middle. I think that the fact that it's Saturday Street, I like that their forms are rounded and they don't look like they're, you know, strict and stringent and hurry, get to a meeting. It does look like this rounded sort of strolling down the street, which I love. And if you look to the left, we know it's buildings, but she's done these great gradations of colors that are unexpected, this palette of these mustards and these greens, and then the pink and turquoise for good measure, where again, she's not looking to create something that is realistic, but she's still getting the essence of it. And I think the color palette just gives you a vibe. It's just sort of relaxed and unexpected, which is what we hope most Saturdays are. And I love the fact, if you look to the right, that you can see the color dripping down to the side. So it's almost this, turning away from a rigid representation, and things are just sort of melting into being. And she comes across very philosophically on her website. And I think that this must represent that in some way. So congratulations, Kate. I'm very happy to see you win this award.
Oh, I'd love to talk about this. This is an outstanding achievement for animals funded by Sally Maxwell and an in-kind from Montgomery Frames. This is Mary Jean Runke, an associate member from Texas, and this is called Leafy Lullaby, Sleeping in Nature's Embrace, Mixed Media of 24 by 30. I love this picture of her down there. She just looks like a sweet animal lover. We have here another self-taught artist, which is just remarkable to me. And Mary Jean is living on a goat and cattle ranch in San Antonio, Texas, and it's over 13 years of self-taught experience. And she created her own unique style of ink and textured acrylic that resonates with art lovers from around the world. And in addition to creating beautiful work in her art studio, this person is also found milking goats off the back porch and pondering life through the lens of farm animals and wild animals. Well, anyone that knows me personally knows I have an adopted pet fox in the backyard, and her kit. So this was a particular favorite of mine, and I think she has captured everything about this endearing and sweet, without being trite, portrayal of the natural world, and how in a perfect world they would all cuddle up together and snuggle in, and the little squirrel is under the arm of the fox, there's a bunny, there's a skunk, there's a mouse, a raccoon, and a little, looks like a badger, and they're all perfectly contented with one another. And nestled in, I think, her use of the ink in this case, with the textured acrylic, is contributing to the idea that nature is fragile and in danger right now, not just these endangered animals, but the precarious state of the world. And I think she has really kind of beautifully portrayed that with this ink component to the work. She says she ultimately hopes by sharing her artwork and her story that people will be inspired to recognize their own feelings and experiences and the greater understanding of themselves. And with each stroke of her brush or ink pen, she hopes to create a beautiful artwork, and that people find a catharsis as they view her artwork. I just think that they're really lovely. She says, by immersing yourself in the story, you can discover more about yourself, your own emotions, and your experiences. And it could be a journey that could surprise and inspire you. And I think she's really done that just beautifully. It's tender, it's sweet, it's kind. Boy, the world needs that desperately. And I think I want to take them all home. And beautiful, beautiful job, Mary Jean. It was one of my own personal favorites, and I'm delighted you won the award.
Next up, we have Outstanding Achievement in Figurative, and this is funded by Alita Carpenter, who's a former board member and longtime supporter, and in kind from Savoir-Faire Senier products. So this is by Deborah Kearse. She's a signature member in Virginia. It's entitled Hungry. It's an oil, 11 by 30. So this is another woman who had a whole different life, a whole different career. She was a biochemical engineer in the 80s and 90s, and project manager. And so talks about her love for being very precise and solving problems. And so she applies that to her figurative work now. Now, obviously, when you look at this, I'm sure everyone is thinking of The Last Supper. And so I kind of wanted to play with that a little bit. She has mimicked some of the things that Da Vinci did, where if you start from the left, he did the groupings of 3 with the apostles, and she has done those groupings of 3, similar body positions, There was always the debate seated to the right of the person in the middle. Was it a female? Was it John? Was it Mary Magdalene? She's made it a woman in this version and added a couple more in for good measure. They're in very similar positions. She's taken away a lot of the other symbolism that we saw in the Last Supper, which included the food, right? And the accessories that are going along with the meal. And she's stripped it down to just this empty table, which can imply being more hungry, right? When you're not having the food. But I really want to know. So she loves the Old West. She talks about that. And so it just makes you want to build a story around this. So that central figure seated where Jesus is in Da Vinci's, he looks a little resolute, right? He's got his hands on the table. He's either made an announcement or discovered something. Is it the same sort of scenario? Is he about to be, is Judas the second over going to betray him? And what are all these other people needing? What are they hungry for? If you think of the Old West and the expansion in the West, we're seeing every different sort of person that might have shown up in that expansion, from native cultures to fur trappers to cowboys and barmaids. And they're all together in this for this Last Supper sort of homage, but she leaves so much to our imagination. But thinking back to her engineering, the technical skills, I encourage everyone to go online and zoom in on all of these pieces in the show to really see the detail. But her detail for the clothing, the hand positions, everything, the expressions is just incredible. So I understand why the jurors were attracted to this, having multiple people in this figurative piece. And she likes being a rule breaker and likes to break the rules taught in art school. So perhaps she was kind of saying, hey, Da Vinci, let's try it this way. So congratulations, Deborah. I really love this piece. Well deserved.
So an award for outstanding achievement in landscape and cityscape is funded by Jean Rivas and in kind from Golden Paints. The award goes to Elizabeth B. Derderian, associate member from New York. The piece is titled Entrance to Rye Beach, an acrylic painting 24 by 12. Entrance to Rye Beach is at once a study in urban light and texture and an invitation to the beach. The light flooding the textured brick wall, concrete walk, and glinting off the trash can is pointing out the way to the landscape beyond, where the early evening sky has turned that rich, deep blue. Just a few steps through this doorway and you'll hear the water, feel the breeze beckoning, and it reminds us that many times when you're in a city, just around the corner is a park, some natural landscape, some relief from the city, the hardscape. I'm ready to walk right through that entrance with a blanket and a bottle of wine to settle in and watch the waves rolling in on the sand. Beautiful piece. Congratulations, Elizabeth.
We'll all join you.
We will. Correct.
Whoops, there we go.
This outstanding achievement in sculpture was funded by Cheryl Newby and in kind from Colart, Windsor, and Newton. The award goes to Betty Branch, associate with distinction from Virginia, piece titled La Penserosa in bronze, 17 by 22 by 10. The subject of this sculpture's anguish is palpable as this woman's head is bowed and she's curled in a pose of withdrawal. Who hasn't felt this need to pull back and immerse ourselves in a feeling of sadness or regret, not ready to lift our head and face pain, disappointment, or grief? This woman is curvy and smooth, soft and vulnerable, collecting herself, withdrawn. But she also looks strong, as if she'll be able to emerge recovered and regain her footing on those beautifully detailed feet. Congratulations, Betty, on a beautiful sculpture. Outstanding Achievement in Still Life is funded by Sashiko Zuckerman in honor of Robin Knowlton and in kind from M. Graham and Company. The award goes to Deborah Schlossman, Associate with Distinction from Massachusetts, titled Happy Friday, an oil 14 by 18. Happy Friday is a still life that captures modern celebration with humor and skill. Absent the silver bowl, traditional fruit, and flowers, this work captures the fun element of Friday night ordering out. It is still set against a traditional dark background, showcasing the texture and color of the cardboard and pizza and capturing the light reflection on the beer glass. It's a tongue-in-cheek study of light and shadow on one of our fondest dining traditions, rendered expertly. Friday night is always pizza night at our house. This elevates it to another level. Congratulations, Deborah.
And congratulations to all 6 Outstanding Achievement Award winners. Next, we move into the first prize for each of our membership categories: Associate, Associate with Distinction, Signature, and Master Signature. These are $500 awards plus donated merchandise.
I get to talk about this one. This is the first prize for an associate member funded by Sandy Delahanty and in kind from Frame Distinction. And this award goes to Ellen Starlion, an associate member in Indiana. It's called Green Altar 1, and it's a 30 by 40. So notice that size. I want you to know that Ellen typically is known as a figurative painter who focuses on modern portraiture that revolves around feminism, modernism, and coming of age. Well, I went to her website and there are only 2 images that are still life. So, in many ways, I believe that while this is a brilliant still life and something that speaks to my soul deeply as a person that is immersed in the dirt and plants, I often have these cuttings of things that are partially started. This is truly an altar to living, growing, rooting new life. The first thing that strikes me as an oil painter myself is the luminosity and the light and the translucency that she has gotten in this piece. I was certain when I first saw this, it was a watercolor. I had no idea I was looking at an oil painting. It just glows from within as if each piece of glass has its own personal light to it. It's a tanglement, but if you look, there really is a circular motion to this composition that brings you down, around, and up. There are components of red that are strategically placed that are going to bounce your eye all the way around. You've got the red in the little pot on the far corner, which is balanced by one dangling white flower. And then you come down, follow the light, follow the tangle of the next branch or vine, which brings your eye back up. There's even a tiny little candle that's planted in there. Now you have another red flower that's like an impatient that is, those reds are just going to pop you all the way around. It's all framed by the window, which echoes an iconistic approach, making it another reference to the altar idea here, and the homage to nature itself, and how iconistically, that is something worthy of our worship and our care and our tenderness, which she clearly reveres these growing objects and these glowing little bits of crystal that she's placed them in. It's just brilliantly done. It's so complex, and yet she's managed to let each piece stand on its own and reflect its beauty and stand as this piece of objects that you would place on an altar, obviously do that. And there's nothing in it that competes with the other. It's just a harmonious, beautiful homage to green, which is, a devil for any artist to handle. And she's done that so beautifully. Congratulations, Ellen. I'm in awe of this piece. and it's a beautiful altar.
Next, we have First Prize Associate with Distinction, funded by David Terrio, and an in-kind gift from Sentient Academy. And it goes to Gwen Marcus, Associate with Distinction from New York. It's entitled Sunshine. It's a bronze, 17.5 by 10 by 7. So we've seen Gwen's work before, and she does everything from small pieces to monumental public works. She handles the human form just beautifully, and this is no exception. The title Sunshine, you can see this woman is doing what we've all done at some point, having a seat, putting our face up towards the sun to get those rays, and just drinking it all in. And when you look at both views, what I love about this is that this woman has her hands on her hip. It's this very proud, sort of comfortable stance. I love the roundness of her form, that, you know, she's achieving this in bronze, that we're seeing movement of fabric, we're seeing the crossing of her legs. You know, we can see, you know, where her muscles come together down towards the bottom and across of the ankle and the feet. You know, it's just this fabulous feminine form, and a woman stopping and taking that breath and enjoying the sun. And I think to be able to capture that in bronze is such an incredible skill. And of course, Gwen, when you read her biography, has received so many medals of distinction within the sculpture world, and has served on the board of the Sculpture Society. She's been in so many shows. We understand why she's been so recognized for this beautiful work with figures in particular. So congratulations, Gwen, on another fantastic piece. The next one is First Prize for Signature members, and it's funded by Marianne Cherry, and an in-kind gift from Terry Ludwig Pastels. It's by Natasha Eisenhower. She's a signature from New Mexico. It's called Flat Earth. It's an oil, 24 by 36. And when you look at Natasha's website, you know, she's in New Mexico. She has so many incredible Western landscapes, but also Western sort of scenes of buildings, and even mechanical pieces, just all different types of life. What's interesting about this, so if you look to the left and you see that building, you see these in the West all the time, the abandoned gas station or the abandoned house, or the, you know, some abandoned building that you're driving past. And she captures that, but she leaves out any remnant of what it really was. We're not sure. There's not a sign. There's no really telling us, but you can see straight through it. So the windows allow us to see all the way through to the horizon. She's got the sky in these incredible colors, melding from the blue to the green down to that horizon that's much lighter. Those Western clouds that we often see that are perfectly flat on the bottom. And then these great tracks, well, some people wouldn't call them tracks, great tracks left by airplanes that you do see. And she has them marked as an X with the spot, and it takes you to that center of that painting, or it divides you in the triangle going up to the left. Last but not least, we have this oversized, bordering on surreal, even though she does realism, this piece of citrus sitting in the middle of it all. And of course, in the West, like if you grew up in Arizona, citrus is one of the 5 C's, and it's known for being there. So it is this symbol of the West. But this one's a little, you know, worse for wear, sitting in the middle of this. And then I think it's interesting, the shadows of the leaves almost look like a signpost to me. She talks about wanting to confront the viewer with these sorts of landscapes that are lonely or different, and to just have the viewer figure out what they're feeling. That she's not trying to tell you what to feel. So she's taking these different elements, putting them together in this very interesting triangular sort of composition throughout, and having you think about these elements in the West, and then this very flat earth that you're seeing going off into the horizon. I find it fascinating in its mix of realism and surrealism, and her use of color is just fantastic. So it has all of these elements for you to analyze about the West and what you think about it. And I just think it's a beautifully composed and interesting piece. So congratulations, Natasha.
The first prize for Master Signature Artist was funded by the Almanara Art Prize and in-kind from Blick Art Products. And this is Rosetta, Master Signature, living in Colorado. And this is called Panther's Prize. It's a bronze 50 by 48 by 26, and it's just stunning. I'll talk a little bit first about the composition here before I go into some of the history for Rosetta, who's a very, very well-known, accomplished, and awarded artist who works in this beautiful, this is piece of stone. So you've got this incredible triangular piece, and then the tails of both the child and the mother curve in and bring you up the pillar of the legs, where they have that almost heart-shaped center of the paw and the leg, and then the baby leaning into the mother, and the mother looking beautifully straight out at you. I will say that Rosetta's style has often been described as hard-edged yet soft, and I think this perfectly represents that. It's so curved, you almost want to stroke it. It almost feels like butter, and yet there's a sharpness to it. So it renders these pieces to be sensitive and yet still very powerful. And she says it's a combination of her great appreciation for the wondrous qualities of beauty and power and profound innocence that she senses in the animals, and then blending the realism and abstraction in her visual interpretations, which imbues her sculpture with these qualities. She creates sculptures of animals because she believes they depict the life force of the animal in all of its visual splendor, rather than a realistic depiction of an outward appearance. Although she keeps the animal's basic form true to reality, which it is here, there's no question that this is panthers. It is her interpretation of that form and motion and the inner spirit that is her art, and I believe that is the soft component, the roundness of it. So that juxtaposition of soft and hard. And she said she works directly in clay without any preliminary drawings, and she uses line released from 2-dimensional to 3 to express beauty, grace, and power that she sees in the animal kingdom. And there's such is particularly if you're looking at the profile piece where you see the tenderness of the baby leaning into its mother, and you see this nobility and protection and care. Nothing's going to get past that, mama. She really has beautifully depicted the motherhood, which is a topic for women that they particularly understand, and the animal kingdom. And I just greatly respect this piece and the work that Rosetta's doing to draw awareness to the protection of the animal world. She just has done an extraordinary job. And this is bronze. So, I mean, it almost looks like polished stone. It's just highly glowing in its presentation, and I think she's just done an exquisite job. Congratulations, Rosetta, on all of your work.
Congratulations to all the first prize winners in the membership categories this year. Next, we move into the named awards. We have 4. Christine Drewyer Award of Distinction, Kathleen J. Smith Humanity and Art Award, Power of the Feminine Award, and the AWA President's Award. So first, Christine.
Well, when trying to choose an award, the first thing, this was my first pick, so I was really blessed to get it, is that wow factor, something that just hits you right in the heart. There is something particularly powerful about this. It's playful. She's confident. I'm so excited about the piece. I forgot to talk about the young lady that won it. So it's funded by me and an in-kind from Etcher. And it's Kate Lackman, signature member of Ohio. I don't know you, Kate, but you have knocked my socks off with Her Majesty. She is Her Majesty. She's the way you've taken her hair and almost amalgamated it into the crown, And then the abstracted forms that are behind her are quite exceptional. It's a 24 by 24. Now, Kate has a degree in graphic arts, which clearly shows here the graphic component of this. There's very little delineation between the entire outside edge and of the body, and the black has been almost, there's very little separation of that. It's almost one component, one piece, as is the hair and the crown, which gives it this really gorgeous graphic contemporary, just boom, just an impact that you can't unsee. The face is wonderful. The attitude that she has managed to infuse on this woman's face, I just, it's like, yeah, you want to be me. And she's so fabulous. And now, and she says that she's had a 15-year career in advertising with a Fortune 500 company, and that really shows here. I mean, who wouldn't want to put this on the cover of a magazine and grab everybody's, attention? And her technical skills allowed her to launch a very successful career in making one-of-a-kind art dolls that were sold to collectors worldwide. So I love that these artists have multi-careers and multiple kinds of skills that they bring to the table. She is a realist painter known for her figurative work in oil and sculpture. And she does have a degree that she has in art, and that shows here too. But I'm just blown away by it. I want her. I love the minimal treatment of the hands, the angle of the neck and the head, almost as if the devil may care. But she's just so confident, and the crown is well deserved. And I'm so happy to give you this award, Kate. I can't wait to see more of your work in person. Congratulations. It's a beauty. The next award is Kathleen J. Smith Humanity in Art Award, and it's funded by Angela Mia, and she's a Master Signature member and from her family as well. And Kathleen J. Smith Humanity in Art Award is named after her mother, and she recognizes outstanding encapsulation of the human experience through free expression. She says, "My mother was a champion of growth, personal freedom, and living life with an undeterred honesty." And that's written by Angela about her mother. This award goes to Kathleen J. Smith Humanity in Art Award, funded by Angela Mia and family. It's a $500 plus in kind from Blick Art Products. And this painting is an acrylic by Cher Pruis, and a signature member from Ontario, Canada. This is one of our Canadian members, and it's called Entranced. Well, this precious, precious painting is such a beautiful narrative. We've all gone to recitals where the stars of the shows are never the prima ballerinas, but the little baby beginners in their baggy tights and their inability to stay in line, and all of them yanking on their tutus and just trying so hard, and they just endear our hearts with the potential of what we know they are going to become. So the narrative that she has managed to create, this is probably the little girls in their art academy studying, and they are looking through the window at probably the older girls practicing. It says entranced, so they are all enthralled with the idea of maybe one day we'll get to do that. But what she has so perfectly accomplished is their age, their youth, that sweetness of disheveledness that those baby ballerinas are yet to grow into. I want to yank her little leotards down, her rumpled up tights. I mean, she's got the shine on the shoes, but she's created such a beautiful narrative, and with just that circle of light and very little being able to be seen into it, it's all about those three little girls. And this is a relatively small piece to have gotten this kind of detail and beauty, and because she's made the rest of the background so flat, if you will, with the floor and the gray of the wall. It makes the perfect setup for the light, which is almost a halo for those little girls, and their skin tones and their darling little ballerina outfits are just pop right out on it, and it's just masterfully done. Very well deserved. Cher, I think gotten to speak about other of your pieces that just blow me away, and you really capture that human component. I don't think there's another piece that could so sweetly portray humanity in arts. And I hope that Angela and her family are so tickled with this choice, because I think it's just a beautiful, beautiful piece. A lovely award. Well chosen, Angela. Congratulations, Cher.
Our next award is the Power of the Feminine Award, funded by Catherine Leach. It's a $500 award and in kind from En Plein Air Pro. It goes to Cindy L. Baird, who's an associate member in Texas. It's entitled Hanging On. It's a watercolor 18 by 22. And as I mentioned earlier, this is the second year Catherine has funded this. And I personally love this choice for the power of the feminine. Last year we had a piece entitled The Huntress, and it was this woman that was so strong and clearly powerful in that manner. But this shows us another type of power, which I'm really happy to celebrate. And so if you look closely, this person is leaning over. If you look at her hand, she's grabbing the sheet. I don't think there's any of us that haven't felt this way at some point, right? Where things are moving in multiple directions. And for many women in general, that can be all the roles we play, correct? With our parents, with our spouses, with our partners, with children, with friends, with other family members, with our work. And sometimes all it takes is a couple things that are unsuspected, or a tragedy occurs and you feel like I am going to hit the edge here at any moment. You can't stop, right? So this woman is just exhausted, gathering her strength, in my opinion. Grabbing the sheet means she hasn't stopped holding on, and in my opinion is going to take that breath, gather everything, and get back up. And I think the colors help us in this way, because it's this dark gray and then moving into that lighter pastel. Same on the floor, it's got the dark, but then as you move towards that chair with that lighter color scarf, and then there's this sort of halo of light around it. I think it's hopeful that, particularly because this is somebody who is hanging on, who is going to keep going. So I think it's perfect choice for showing power of a different kind. It's the power to move through challenges, to keep going, to pick yourself up when you feel like just folding onto the bed. I think it's a fantastic choice in this regard. It's interesting, if you look at Cindy's work, she loves animals and has done a lot of animal pieces in particular, pets in particular. She really captures how we love our animals, and then talks about moving in these other directions as well. I think she did a fantastic job with a person in this regard. And I think watercolor is the perfect vehicle for this, because it just sort of blends together. So congratulations, Cindy.
So my husband and I were delighted to be able to present an AWA President's Award this year to Juana Ponder, a signature member from California, for this sculpture Vincent in bronze, 16 by 9 by 6. I was so excited to see this sculpture when I first saw it. It had what Christine said was the wow factor. I said wow out loud when I was scrolling through the pictures of the show. I immediately felt like I was seeing a photo of someone I knew, and I thought, oh, it's you. I'm lucky to live near Detroit, where the Detroit Institute of Arts hosted the largest Van Gogh exhibit in history last winter, bringing in works from museums and private collections all over the world. The DIA was the first American museum to purchase a Van Gogh for its collection, which happens to be his self-portrait wearing the straw hat. Van Gogh painted 35 self-portraits that we know of, and seeing this piece in 3D was an absolute thrill. The marks in the clay simulate Van Gogh's brushstrokes, repetitive, bold, textured. It's as if one of his portraits has leapt off the canvas. I love the way the bust is supported by a column of his wool jacket, the way the light bounces off the bone structure in his face and beard, his hair waving back from his wrinkled forehead. But the focus of the piece for me are those eyes, intelligent and observing. What is he looking at? The subject of a painting, the light on the field, the pair of shoes. He doesn't wear this exact expression in any of the pictures of self-portraits that I looked at thinking about this piece. It's an expression given by the sculptor who created this moment. She typically does sculptures of women, often dancers, so this is a departure from a lot of her work. It's so exciting to see, and my husband and I were delighted to give this award. So congratulations, Juana, on this exciting piece.
Congratulations to all of the named awards winners. Now we get to the top 3 prizes for this year. So the first one is the 3rd prize overall, a $1,000 award funded by Diana Reuter Twining in memory of her mother, Nancy Brown Reuter, and an in-kind gift from Etcher. This year's 3rd prize award goes to Kathleen Kinkop. She's an associate member from Florida. It's called Vernal Slumber, acrylic 52 by 44. Kathleen is another woman who's had this whole other career. She was in graphic design, which I think you can see that graphic quality in her work. She still does graphic design, but she's worked for major corporate clients, museums, restaurant chains, so some very big campaigns. And so she's done work for others a lot, but in her own work, she talks about growing up in a small Midwestern town, having the kind of the years growing up outside, which a lot of us did, I think, where you're running around outside all day and you're in nature, you're catching fireflies in the evening, and you go home only when it starts to get dark, right? And so she felt that connection to nature throughout her life. And so she says that her own work usually includes nature, female form, and then a little bit of this storytelling and mythology. She likes to get into these sort of dreamlike states and take people into these imaginary worlds. She talks about how when you are growing up outdoors, you're using your imagination a lot. And so that she likes to portray that in her works. This piece, Vernal Slumber, so we're talking about spring, but we're also talking about a little bit of rest and relaxation, but her symbolism is gorgeous. So the women, it has sort of a Gauguin kind of a feel where you have these beautiful curved women with the floral pieces, the ferns, the palms, and then you have the symbolism of the pomegranate, which is in almost every culture a symbol of fertility. So we're thinking about spring and new life. And even flamingos are seen in some cultures as very good luck and a sign of changing of the seasons in the spring and the summer. Her Florida experience is shining through on that. I think that the background has almost a graphic sort of wallpaper quality coming from maybe her graphic design. But you're getting these different elements of the floral, and you have the animals included. And again, if you follow that painting around, you have all of these curves, and everywhere you follow it, it'll take you to a different part of the piece. And because it is vernal slumber, it's this dream state, right? Even when you're looking at the blush of the woman on the bottom, a little bit of sun-kissed skin, being outside in the springtime, and that fabulous exhaustion that you feel after spending a day outdoors. I just think she grabs both the imagery and the storytelling piece so beautifully. And I really like all of her work that sort of combines those two, graphic and storytelling. So congratulations, Kathleen. It's a lovely piece. Next, we have second prize overall, which brings a $1,500 award. We have an anonymous donor who has funded this, thank you, and an in-kind from Wind River Arts.
So second prize overall award goes to Gabriella Deloso, Associate with Distinction from New Jersey, titled The Harlequin's Homecoming in Oil, 16 by 20. The detail in this piece is absolutely incredible. The work is an exercise in patience and detail. The circus performers are all waiting outside the tent to make their entrance, relaxed and chatting. In the dark, softened background, you can see the big top brimming with people. The circus wagon elaborately depicts all the manner of attractions in great detail. The performers' costumes are a tribute to costume designers and seamstresses and their intricacy. Circus bills litter the ground in rays of sunshine, but it's the jester on the left who's the star of the piece. His bright white ruffled costume is topped off by his black and white hat as he holds his red balloon with the light reflecting off its surface. I love the way that red is used to unite the subjects from left to right across the piece, but the eye then always circles back to the Harlequin, ready to lead the parade of performers toward that tent to put on the show. The formality of the piece and the skill of the painter and the exquisite detail in this portrait of entertainment, lend an elegance to the entertainment form and pay tribute to all these creative and talented performers. Gabriella typically fine detail is different from many of her other pieces, and it's a real triumph. Congratulations, Gabriella.
And finally, the moment we've been waiting for, the grand prize award winner overall for the show is a $2,000 prize funded by David Terrio and an in-kind gift from Frame Destination. Are we ready?
Oh.
Da, da, da.
Da, da, da.
Grand prize winner is...
The grand prize award goes to Diana Tremaine, Associate from Montana, for her painting Metanoia, which is a huge oil painting, 60 by 60. In this painting, we see a group of young adults in repose, relaxed, in close proximity, resting and at peace. They're racially diverse. Their heads are at the center of a human pinwheel of sorts, and according to the title of the piece, they're experiencing a transformation. This could be at college, at school, at camp, a place where they're experiencing each other and change, but they are all but one dozing and dreamy looking. Our eyes drawn to the one girl at the upper left who's looking at us, less relaxed, arms folded, not as comfortable. Their upper bodies are in focus, in color. Their lower bodies are literally faded in importance. Are they changing from proximity to each other, from sharing everyday human experiences, or are they just at the coming of age era of their lives where change is required and involuntary? The detail of the faces, the beautiful proportionality of their bodies, and textures of their hair and clothing contribute to the seriousness of the portrait. Congratulations, Diana, on this thought-provoking, expertly composed piece and winning Best in Show.
Just beautiful.
Absolutely breathtaking. That was a lot of people's top picks. It was really gorgeous.
I will say that it received a perfect score from the jurors.
So well deserved. It's just beautiful.
Congratulations. And that wraps up our presentation, everyone. We thank you for watching. Please go to the website. You can click through and see all of the incredible pieces and see what a hard job the jurors had. And then you can take a closer look at everything and zoom in, which is really the best way to look at all of these works. So congratulations to everyone. Thank you to our sponsors. And we will see you next time. Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Christine. We appreciate it.
Very much a pleasure. One of
Thanks
our
so
favorite things to do.